Hey everyone, welcome back to another Cabrini live stream. My name's Allie Barlow. I'll be your host tonight. I have so much in store for you. I am so excited. We're going to have Rod Barr, who is the writer of the upcoming hit Cabrini. He will be joining us later. You might know him from his writing of The Sound of Freedom, which was a beautiful movie. And after seeing Cabrini, he has done it again. Such beautiful storytelling, such an incredible story of a real life hero, and I can't wait for you guys to watch that film. We'll bring him on in just a minute here, but if you have any questions for him that come up while we're talking today, just put them in the comments and we'll try to get to them at some point during the stream tonight. We are doing something new and exciting for you guys tonight. We are going to give away a signed copy of the Cabrini script to somebody that purchases tickets during this live stream. So if you haven't purchased your tickets yet, go ahead and do that now. Go to angel.com/Cabrini to get those tickets. There's also an early bird discount happening right now. The earlier you get your tickets, the better the discount. So a few weeks ago, it was at 50%. Let's see what it's at right now for that early bird discount. It looks like it's 36%. So if you go online right now and buy your tickets, you'll get 36% off. You'll also get a chance to win a signed copy of the Cabrini script from the writer himself. We will go ahead and just cover some of those rules for this giveaway real quick. We're going to choose a winner at random, and we'll announce it at the end of the live stream. Rod will sign the copy and send it to you, but you'll get it after the film comes out because we are not about to spoil the movie for you. You also must be 18 years or older to enter, and any other rules are all in the description, so check it out and get your tickets. Again, that's at angel.com/Cabrini. I'm so excited for this live stream today, you guys. Talking to Rod Barr, the writer of Cabrini, is really exciting. He's going to tell us about, his experience with the research and the writing of Cabrini. And he also claims to know a ton about Cabrini, so we're going to play a fun game later on in the live stream called The Powerful Words of Cabrini. And what we'll do is we're going to put his knowledge of Cabrini to the test. You guys are going to have a chance to try to get your answers in before he can answer. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stick around for that. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. Let's bring in Rod Barr, the writer of Sound of Freedom and now Cabrini. Hi, Rod.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited that you were willing. This is such a treat. So most of our audience knows you right now from the writing of The Sound of Freedom. So I kind of want to start there, if that's okay, with some questions. When Sound of Freedom first came out, we had audiences and even Jim Caviezel compare the story to a real-life superhero film. And now that people are starting to see Cabrini, we're hearing that again with the early screenings. What attracts you to these stories of real-life superheroes?
Well, I don't think of them as superheroes at first. They're just characters. They're just people, humans. And then you do research and you find elements of their stories that need to be brought forward. And they're usually the most dramatic, heroic elements or the aspects of their lives where they really met the most challenge.
Yeah.
Because those are always the best sources of drama. So you find those areas, and the more I think the more incredible the story, or the more, for example, with Mother Cabrini, the obstacles she had to overcome were so severe, so kind of extreme and unbelievable, that there is sort of a superhero element to her ability to overcome them, because she just keeps getting hit and hit and hit and hit, and she keeps going back and back and back. So you, as a writer, you find those areas, you find those elements, and you really bring them forward. And we even did something very explicitly superhero with her cape and her veil. That was something that was very intentional in the script. With Alejandra, the director, as well. The sort of the superhero cape, but she has the cape and then the veil of the nun.
Yeah.
And there was an effort to take something that like a nun's habit isn't necessarily the most superhero seeming thing that you could imagine, right?
Right.
But to take that, and Alicia, the costume director, even played with those elements, and we really did intend to turn that into a superhero kind of cape. So yeah, all of it was very intentional because of who she was as a person.
Right. That's really cool. And that's cool for our listeners too that are buying their tickets now to be able to watch the film now with that piece of insight of just like, she is a real life hero in her own way and the cape and everything. That's cool.
Yeah.
Eustace said something about that as well. He said that that you guys, you didn't set out to make a film about a superhero, but it just kind of turned into that. Can we play that clip really quick?
It's not so much that we talked about making a movie about a real life superhero. What it is, it's her life and who she was. It's so incredible. And what we had to do is make sure that we were able to capture her life for what it was. And that's all we did. We just captured her life. And to do that, we spent 3 years of research. And before we let the writer write one word, we went through that 3-year period of research. We read 26 books on her life. We walked her footprints around the world. So that I think our writer knew her better than anyone else knew her. The secret was capturing her life, capturing who she was. That was the secret. My wife, Marcy, and I first met Mother Cabrini in 1955. And she inspired us, and we believe that this movie will inspire you in the same way, to help you overcome any obstacle you have in your life and make you realize there's nothing you cannot overcome.
I love that so much. So it sounds like in doing all the research, that's when you guys, kind of were able to come together with all of these dramatic pieces of her life, like you were talking about. What was that research process like for you as the writer?
Yeah, sure. It was fascinating. We went to Italy. Eustace and I went to Italy, and we spent probably 10 days, 2 weeks at her birthplace, doing research in the Vatican, doing research all over Rome and all over Codogno and the Lombardy, the region where she's from. And it's actually in one of those moments when we were with the nuns from her order that I overheard a little story that I couldn't believe. They said, well, then there's that time that she marched into the Senate uninvited and took command of this room full of men, gave them a speech, changed their ideas about immigration, and moved on. And I thought, and this was not in any book. And I'd read,
Oh, wow.
as Eustace mentions, he says 26 books. I think that's not as many as we actually read. I think it's a lot more than that. Yeah.
Wow.
So and this scene did not appear in any book. And I thought,
Oh.
speaking of superhero scenes, this is a woman in a man's world marching uninvited past guards into the Senate chamber filled with men who do not want her there, commanding their attention, giving them a inspirational, heart-moving speech about the plight of the immigrants in America and changing policy. And I thought, that is an incredible scene, and
Right.
it has to be in the movie, and it wasn't in any book. So the research, only being in Italy, allowed that scene to come forward. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that I had sort of an ending for the movie, because that I knew was where we were heading toward. Like, she's got to get back to Rome. She has to get to that Senate. They have to not want her there. She has to go in anyways, and she has to change everyone's mind.
Right.
That's going to be where this movie's heading. Now, how do we get there? That literally was the
Holy
process.
cow.
But
I
it only
have
happened because of
goosebumps.
that. Yeah, it only happened because of the research and because of
Yeah.
going over there and overhearing a conversation.
That's incredible. That is so cool. And it gives me insight. I don't always think about, how did they find out all this information? But you were there, you said for 10 weeks?
10 days, 2 weeks.
10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a
I would
long
love to
time
spend-
still.
I'd love to spend 10 weeks in Italy doing anything.
I know,
but
right? Let's go now.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. And that scene is so powerful. So thank you for doing that research, for being there. So to overhear that, that's incredible.
And I I have a theory about why it doesn't appear in any book, that
Oh
scene.
yeah.
Yeah. My theory is that when she was trying to be, not she, because she already passed away, when her order was trying to get her through the process of becoming a saint in the Catholic Church, you had to appear very pious. You had to be a very obedient, pious. This was 1920s and 30s, and as a
Yeah.
woman in those years, and as a nun, that was what you were expected to be, and that's how you were expected to act. And so I
Yeah.
think anything that looked like um, radical or disobedient or too disruptive,
Mm.
I think they whitewashed it out of her history. Like, that doesn't fit. That doesn't fit. That doesn't fit. So I think many of the cool things that she actually did that were very much disruptive
Yeah.
um, didn't make it into the official histories because in those years it didn't help her cause to become a saint.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I mean, that would make sense.
It's
I'd
my
be
theory.
so interested to learn about that. Which I mean, I don't know if they would teach us, but was there anything else when you were out there doing the research that just um, was either super pivotal in your writing or anything you can tell our viewers tonight about that when they're watching the film, maybe they can keep an eye out for?
Well, a couple things come to mind. One is the nuns who are in her order now, I feel, are the recipients of this lineage, this legacy. It is passed down through these women.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that they had certain mannerisms among them that were consistent among them. They'd always grab your arm and just take you wherever they wanted you to go. They just pull you right along, and they're so charming that you just went right along. It didn't matter what you wanted
Yeah.
to do; you were going to do what they wanted you to do. And Cabrini does that in a few scenes in the movie. I wrote that specifically into the movie because I feel like that is part of her determination and charm. Um, and that was just something I picked up by kind of observing the nuns today. And another one that comes to mind, another little anecdote, I suppose, is that there are scenes in the movie that are very dreamlike scenes of young Cabrini kind of underwater. Looks like she's drowning or struggling to get out of the water. And it comes at
Rod,
points in
you
the
cut
movie.
out. I
And
can't hear you. I want to hear what you're saying. Let's see. Okay.
you
It
can't hear
sounds like
me.
everyone
Uh, Continue.
can.
Okay,
We're good. I
so
can hear you now. I apologize.
oh, yeah. Well, there are these scenes that are sort of dreamlike in the movie of
Mm-hmm.
Cabrini underwater as a young girl,
Oh, yeah.
and they happen at moments where she is hitting real resistance and maybe even not believing in herself anymore. And there was a river right there by her hometown in Codogno, where as a young girl, Francesca Cabrini fell into the river by accident and almost drowned. And it was a very pivotal moment in her life. And I remember standing there right where she fell in. I mean, it's literally just a river with some steps walking down to it, and that's where she fell in. And Eustace was there as well, and we had this, I don't know, this sort of beautiful moment of kind of feeling her presence there because it was such an important place for her in her life.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, and it's cool. I think the fact that you were able to be there and to feel that too when you were writing this, to be able to kind of put that into your writing as well, just experiencing that. That's really awesome. Do you feel like do you think that helped being able to feel that, like to be where she was at all?
Oh, very much. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's so important. And the thing is, when you do those sorts of trips, you never know what it's going to be that you get out of it. You just
Yeah.
know that you're going to get something really important out of it. And you can't
Yeah.
predict. I mean, I thought I would have known, oh, I'm going to go to all these churches where she went and I'll read all these things. And that stuff was great, but it really didn't,
Yeah.
in the end, it really didn't mean much. It was the feeling of the places.
Mm-hmm.
It was the talking to the sisters who were her sort of, in her lineage.
Right.
And the stories that I heard and could never have predicted that. And
Right.
these are the gold. That's the gold that you look for as a
Yeah.
writer.
I mean, the fact that you overheard that story and you were like, that's the ending. How do I
That's
need to work around it. You have to really go into that research, I'm sure, with such an open mind. Did you do research like before you went there as well? Is that when you read a lot of those books and things so you could know before you went?
Yes, I already had read almost everything that I could get my
Wow.
hands on by the time I went there. So I had a pretty good idea of, of her life.
Yeah.
So it was filling in details, understanding what happened in between things. There were
Yeah.
always questions in my mind. You read these books, like I said, I don't think they were written um, to, they were not written to present her as a superhero. They were written
Yeah.
to present her as a saint. And it's a
Yeah.
very different thing. And
Yeah.
we were trying to do something where she really comes forward as what she was, which was a human being who was just overcoming stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So there were there were gaps in the research that I would ask the nuns about, like, what, well, but right here, there's something seems to be missing. Oh yeah, that we know about that.
Let
And then
us
there would
tell.
always be another story, and it would
Yeah.
always be that she was more disruptive, um, strong. Uh, it was always that they had downplayed how much she had to overcome.
Yeah. So that's kind of exciting that you got to make a film to show those
Yes,
pieces, kind of.
absolutely.
And you did a great job. Um, Truly, it's amazing. I want to play a clip from Jonathan Sanger. He mentioned something about Cabrini that I kind of want to talk about with you for a minute. If we can play that clip right now, that'd be awesome.
Very much like telling stories about real people. You know, this is a story about a saint. I like telling stories. I very much like telling stories about real people, but they have to be people that normal people can relate to. And I'm not sure I know how to relate to a saint. This is what I said to him.
So in that and just kind of what we've been talking about, he mentions like, how do you get somebody to relate to a saint?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? How did you kind of approach that when you were writing this film?
Well, the first thing is that she did not think of herself as a saint. She only became a saint, 20 years after she died, officially. So she didn't go around thinking I'm a saint. No one thought of her as a saint. She was just a person. She was literally just someone who came over with nothing but, her little suitcase and a few nuns,
Yeah.
and tried to build a better life for the immigrants there. That's all that she intended to do. Of course, she had profound faith, and of course, she was driven by that faith. But she did not go through life as a saint. She was a person overcoming things. So sainthood is something, at least in the Catholic Church, you get way after you die. So uh, it was just really important to keep that in mind, for me as a writer,
Yeah.
that um, she's just a woman trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
She's not just that, but
Right.
that's much of what she faced. She was way more than that. But in terms of plot, as a
Yeah.
writer, she was a woman overcoming plot obstacles. There was people that didn't want her to succeed. There were
Right.
people that didn't like the Italians. There were people that didn't think women should have any say in anything, who
Right.
shouldn't have any power, shouldn't be able to. Um, so all of those things were very serious obstacles to overcome,
Yeah.
and sainthood doesn't it doesn't really play into it. It's
Right.
more determination and grit, and I think the faith or the sainthood part is really the engine that drives that determination. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a deeper, a little bit of a deeper engine or power that keeps her going through all these challenges.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's a really good point too, to think about it that way, for a viewer trying to relate to who now we consider a saint. That she was just a woman with a mission. She felt like these are the things that need to happen and I'm going to get them done. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, nobody said, "Here comes Saint Cabrini."
Right.
It
Right.
was, and often it was like, "Oh, here comes that woman again," is
It
what
was a
many of the
eye
men said.
roll and a ugh.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
okay, here she comes again, and she's gonna keep at it until she gets it. And it was definitely not, "Here comes, here comes Saint."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. So with this film, I'm interested to know what you think the impact can be on our current culture from this film and from people getting kind of the insight into her life and also the messages that the movie brings.
Hmm. Interesting question. I feel like our culture today has a serious deficit of hope.
Yeah.
There's so much conflict, so much apparent conflict that's not solvable. Like there doesn't seem to be a way out of this conflict because people have such different opinions, and they don't seem to be able to be reconciled in any way.
Yeah.
And with a movie like this and with a character like Cabrini, my hope is that the themes are so universal. What her life represents is so universal that it actually transcends that sort of conflict or disunity. Because there are things that we do agree on, and there really are. We just don't get to them very often because we're so trapped in the mindset of conflict.
Yeah.
And so I think a movie like this and a life like this can remind us that there are things we actually agree on, that we can actually take action on, and they're universal things, and they're things that relate to people who have faith, and the things that relate to people who have no faith at all. They're absolutely universals. Now, she was, of course, a woman of faith, 100%.
Right.
But the movie is something that can touch people of any persuasion,
Right.
any Christian denomination, anything, because she speaks in universal terms.
Yeah. Well, and that shows in the film too. As people watch it, I mean, you'll notice it's not everybody's not cut from the same cloth in the film that learns to love and appreciate what she's doing. And I think you're spot on that, like, I think we could use more of that and that reminder in the world right now. It's just like, we might be so different, but like those fundamental human things, can't we agree on those? So
Yeah,
I
actually think we do agree on them. We just don't. We just don't get to them.
You're
because
right.
so much other junk separates us. We have to get through much junk to get there.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just takes a story to break through all that and say, look, we know we agree on these things because they're absolutely transcendent values.
Yeah.
Human. They're just human.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. Is there anything else that, like, I guess from this film, I kind of want to move into our powerful words of Cabrini. But before we do that, is there anything else you want to mention to our friends here with us today about the film, or anything that you hope for them?
Well, I think since we were talking about unity, I think it's interesting to mention that the movie has a lot to do with immigration. She is the patron saint of immigrants, and this is all about Italian immigration and Italian immigrants in the 1890s. So it's a natural question. A natural question would be, can you really make a movie that unifies people that also involves immigration, which is the most contentious issue in American life today, almost? And the answer is yes, because Cabrini is not the patron saint of immigration. She is the patron saint of the immigrant. It's a very, very different thing. And immigration is a policy issue, and the immigrant is a person. And she was always focused on the human being in front of her. And I don't believe that she can speak to us from 1890 about policy issues in 2024. The worlds are too different. But what she can speak to us about, and does, is what are those universal things? How do you how do you deal with the suffering human being in front of you? What does that look like? And how do we approach those immigrants who are coming into our lives now? And her answer would be, you have to look at them first through the lens of dignity and through the lens of love. You have to.
Yeah.
And so, again, her message transcends the things that tear us apart. And I think those are things we can agree on.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Just a quick reminder, we are selling tickets right now for this film. You can go to angel.com/Cabrini. We have an early bird discount going on right now, and whoever purchases tickets on this live stream is entering to win a signed copy of the Cabrini script. Rod will be so kindly signing a script copy for one of you. So check out angel.com/Cabrini, get that early bird discount, and be entered to win a signed copy of the script. So I want to move on to kind of our test of your knowledge, Rod. I trust you. I mean, that's a lot of books, a lot of research. But what we're going to do is we're going to put up a couple quotes for you at a time, and you have to pick from those quotes which one was Cabrini. So just for those of you joining us at home, I want you to participate too. Let's see if you can answer faster than Rod. There will be options for quote A, quote B, or quote C. So just type your answer in, A, B, or C, as fast as you can. And let's see if we have any other Cabrini experts out there. So let's go ahead and get started with our first round of quotes. Rod, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so the first quote, A, is, "We are bold or we die. That's how I learned to live in America." Our next quote is quote B, "My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of Earth." And C, "America is the spirit of human exploration distilled." Do you know the answer, Rod?
I definitely know the answer. A.
Hey, good job. That's awesome. And some of these quotes are direct quotes from Cabrini, and some are you trying to capture her essence as a being in your script. Is that correct?
Yes, and this is a quote that I wrote that I thought distilled and compressed a bunch of Cabrini's characteristics into a kind of a simple, bold, hopefully interesting and memorable statement. We are bold or we die.
Yeah.
Because it was very real to her. I mean, she had to be so entrepreneurial, and bold doesn't even capture how actually crazy people thought she was. Like, why would you think you could do that? You can't do that. And she would say, well, I'm going to do that. And so to capture that spirit, that was what I was trying to do with that line. And I think it also captures that there's an American aspect to that spirit too. That she picked that. She was always like that, but it was accentuated by her experience in America.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a super powerful quote. Well done. That's been in a lot of the trailers that we've seen. It's very, very powerful. And it looks like we have a few Cabrini folks in the audience here. We got Sarah, Lila, Charlotte, Donna. Good job, guys. I'm impressed that you knew that's from. You must have seen the trailer. So that's awesome. Let's do our next quote round. So A is, "You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it's right." B, "I travel, work, suffer my weak health, meet with 1,000 difficulties, but all these are nothing, for this world is so small." And C, "Whenever you do a thing, act as if all the world were watching."
Well, I'm pretty sure it's B.
All right. Let's see. Alrighty. Yes, good job. I was checking the comments. I delayed response. I was like, are there anybody else guessing right now? But you were the fastest on that one, Rod. Good job. So,
well, and
yeah, go ahead.
It's an interesting quote because she did have very weak health. Doctors didn't think she would live past this drowning episode, this near drowning episode. And she contracted tuberculosis and a couple other things. So she was not expected to live. I mean, I think she was always expected to live about another year or two. Like
Yeah.
at every age that she was, they thought she was about to die. So um, she had this incredible source of energy, um, inspiration, I think, that allowed
Yeah.
her to overcome health, really serious health issues. Um, and traveling, I mean, she traveled everywhere, and
Yeah.
traveling was not like it is today. There wasn't like a first class flight, you know,
Yeah. Right.
um, lay down, no, it was brutal, difficult boat travel. And she went back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
So she was just a powerhouse.
Yeah. It's almost like she used those things to like, it's like I need to keep working harder for this mission. Like I don't have much time potentially, so I need to get as much done as I can. I feel like she just powerhouse through all of that.
And I also think she had an aspect that I think a lot of competitive people have, because I think she
Yeah.
was a very ambitious, competitive person, and
Yeah.
she was a saint. Those things make her interesting. Those things
Yeah.
that um, can seem to be different make her a fascinating character.
Right.
But a lot of ambitious and competitive people, athletes, have this sort of "oh, you think I can't do it" attitude. Oh,
Then
you
I
think I
will.
can't do it? Well, I'm going to tell you. And so I
Right.
think she really had that in spades. I think she had a lot of that. I'm going to show you what you think I can't do, that I can do it.
Right.
And when people didn't think she could, it gave her energy. And so I think the doctor saying, you shouldn't do this and you may not survive, gave her the energy to say, well, look at what I'm going to do.
I'm gonna do it anyway. I think you're spot
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like we had quite a few people also guess B. Good job, you guys. I'm so excited that so many people are also guessing these correct. Let's do our next one, Rod. You're doing really good. So
I
our
better be.
next, I know, I'm like no pressure, but we're all watching. So letter A is the giving of love is an education in itself. B, where there is love, there is life. And C, today love must not be hidden. It must be living, active, and true.
Yeah. Well, all of the quotes are great, and they could all have been said by Cabrini because they're all true. But she said C. That's her actual quote, I believe.
Let's see. Ding, ding, ding. Good job. That is
Yeah.
correct. So that one, I love the like focus on today. Like love is so important. We need it. It's like an act, like call to action for us. I mean, she says it must be living, active, and true. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, that's how she lived her life. She couldn't pass by a child in the streets and not do something active and true.
Right.
Her love wouldn't remain hidden. It was going to manifest in an action, and that action was usually helping someone. In fact, almost always.
Yeah.
So she lived it. That's the way she lived, and that's why I think she's so powerful. Still today, she still speaks to us today because she's one of those people whose love was always translated into action.
Yeah.
It didn't remain theoretical at all. It was
Right.
extremely practical. Extremely practical. I have to build a building. We have to fund a new hospital. We have to get food. It forced her to become an entrepreneur and a businesswoman of the highest
Yeah.
degree. She was
Right.
one of the greatest ones ever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because she loved building hospitals or doing fundraising for building. It's because
Right.
people needed services now. That was
Yeah.
it. Drove
Yep.
her entirely.
Yeah, I think it's really impactful that you can tell, and you did a great job in this film showing like her drive is that love for people. Like no matter what she had to do, even if she probably had not a lot of experience in half the things she tackled, but she just was going to do it, and you can tell it's because of her love for the humans around her too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you did a really good job with that
Yeah.
that coming
She
through.
would take on things that she knew nothing about.
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. Like she didn't know anything about hospitals, and she
Yeah.
ended up having the largest hospital chain, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
That's not the word in the
I know what you
world at the
mean.
time. So, yeah, and the doctors worked for her and hundreds of staff, and she just learned how to do it.
Yeah.
The
That's
one thing
so,
she did know how to do beautifully and really, really well was teach. She was an educator through and through,
yeah.
and absolutely believed education was the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. I think we have one more quote round for you. Let's see. This is A life not lived for others is a wasted life. B, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. C, think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness.
Well, this one's a little harder for me. C, I know she wouldn't have said that. She wouldn't have said it quite like that. I don't think it's C. A, she would have said that. She might have, but I'm going to guess B.
All right, let's see.
Ah!
Hey! We had to throw a curveball in.
Should have used that in the
Let's
movie.
see.
That's a great one.
I know. Let's see here. Is this, I think that our, let's see, a success is not final. Oh, Winston Churchill. It says right there. I was like, who said that? That sounds like a Cabrini thing.
It sure does. Well, they all do.
Yeah,
you guys
truly.
did a great job of making it difficult.
we had to try to get you in at least one.
Yes,
That's
you
awesome. Well, you did really, really well. We want to do a couple of questions from the viewers, if there are any. But in the meantime, I want to remind people about tickets. You can get them right now. We have a discount going on, early bird discount. Angel.com/Cabrini is where you can get those tickets. And if you get them during this live stream, you can get, you're being entered to win into a giveaway where Rod is going to sign a copy of the Cabrini script for a lucky winner. So get your tickets now if you haven't already. I think, yeah. Guys, he's going to sign that for you. We won't send it to you until after the film comes out though, because we don't want to spoil it for you. But if you are announced at the end here that you are the winner, we will touch base with you and make sure that you get that. Let's see if there's any questions from our viewers. So Jonathan, a guild member, says, "Hi Rod, loved Sound of Freedom and so excited for Cabrini. Do you have advice for aspiring screenwriters? I'm in high school and let's see what he loves. Loves film."
Yeah. Sure, Jonathan. I think the main advice I have is to write things that you love and you feel passionately about, because that'll come through in the writing, rather than to look at what the marketplace seems to want and to write to what the marketplace seems to want. And now, if you happen to be passionate about things that the marketplace seems to want, then you're in great shape. But if there's something to emphasize, it would be that that your writing will be better when you really care deeply about it, even if it's not obviously commercial. And people care about the writing first, and they'll say, "Oh, if he can write that, he could probably write this." So write things you care about. It'll punch through better.
That's awesome advice. Someone just quickly asked if there's a promo code for this early bird ticket sale that we're doing. That'll auto apply if you go online right now to that website. It's showing you right here on the screen. It's still that 36% off. So hop online and that'll apply for you there. There's not a promo code. All right, let's see if we have any other questions. Okay, Connor says, what are some of the things that impacted you, Rod Barr, while working on these films?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, if you're talking about Sound of Freedom and Cabrini,
Yeah.
they're they're very, very different kinds of movies. And I feel like, in a way, I'm proud of both, but I feel like Cabrini was a more difficult thing to do, to get right as a writer, and I know Alejandro would say that as a director. There is a simplicity to Sound of Freedom that is one of its strengths. It was not simple to write something that people could watch about the topic of child trafficking. That was actually the biggest challenge of the movie, was how to tread that line very, 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 very carefully, so that people could still feel like they're being entertained watching a good movie, and not having to get up and leave the theater. So those are some of the challenges, and the impact of Sound of Freedom was sort of beyond what any of us could have expected or dreamed. And I'm just happy to be a part of that impact.
Yeah.
And I hope Cabrini will have a very, very different kind of impact. But I hope it's as big or bigger. It will just be different.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about inspiration, and I think it's a little more about, as Eustace said in that video, people leaving feeling a sense of hope that they didn't have coming in.
Yeah.
And that's really important now. And I hope that people experience that and then want to share it with others.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that they do, and I feel like my experience was that, and I think that others will too. So, okay, let's see. It looks like we have 2 more questions for you, Rod. This is from Jeremy, who's a guild member. Says, Rod, was there a big difference writing a modern story, Sound of Freedom, versus a period piece, Cabrini?
That is a great question. I love that question.
Me too.
The answer is, yeah, there's a big difference. It's still the same thing. You're still telling a story about human beings. With Sound of Freedom, there was a living person, Tim Ballard, that we spent a lot of time with and talked about, and the research was basically conversations with him. There's not written source material. There wasn't much. So that's a big difference. With Cabrini, it's all writing except for the research that we were able to do in Italy. So it was a lot of reading, which I love. I could probably have done that. I could double the amount of time I spend researching, just because I just find it kind of fun. So that's the biggest difference. And then in terms of the actually putting it together, it's just stories. Once you have the basic material there, then it's just, how do you tell a story? And that challenge doesn't have that much to do with the period piece aspect of it with Cabrini. It's really just, how do you tell the story? Now, if you're talking to Alejandro, the period piece aspect of directing is enormous. The challenge there is enormous, because it's costumes, it's horses, it's sets, it's research. So it's a bunch of things that make it more expensive, that for a writer don't make much. I mean, it's just as easy for me to type, Roman street as it is street of Hollywood. One of them you can go out and film, the other one you have to build. So very different for the director, not that different for the writer.
That's interesting. I would have never thought about it like that. That, for you, it makes a difference in how you're gathering the information and things, but then it's so different for, directors. And even we talked a little bit about the wardrobe and things like that. There's just so many different factors into creating either a period piece or something modern. There's a lot of there might be budgetary issues in writing the script. For example, let's say if you want to do a period piece without as much money, you would keep it all in interiors. You wouldn't do these big exterior shots with 500 people in costumes and horses and buggies, and those are all very, very expensive. Or it doesn't even matter what period it is. If you have to be outside in the 50s, you have to have all those cars from the 50s. You have to have all those people in clothing from. So interiors tend to make it cheaper, but they also make it feel like a much smaller movie. So these are the things that you can adjust as a writer Yeah.
that you may have to think about a little bit if you know you're working with budgetary
Yeah.
issues or constraints. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Let's see. Seth, another guild member, says, is there anything you look back on about the script that taught you more about loving and serving that you maybe didn't expect?
Yeah, I don't think it came out of the script because the script, was sort of my territory, and I knew what I was trying to express, and
Yeah.
um, but what changed things about, say, loving and serving
Yeah.
was when you see it come to life, when you see Christiana do the acting, when you see these Alejandro do the directing, and when the music comes in, that is something else again. And you can't, as a writer, you can't really, you don't control it. So you don't control it at all. You hand it over, and other people do what they do beautifully.
Yeah.
But when it works, as it really did in this, when the acting is at that level, and the music and the set design and the directing, then absolutely aspects of profound sort of depth come out of it that I couldn't have imagined, that have to do with, of course, with her love and her service. So I think that the movie kind of elevated those aspects so deeply and so well that it moves me just as an audience person,
Wow.
just as someone watching a movie, which is really surprising because I do know what's coming.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, it is true though when you obviously wrote a beautiful script that you're like, "Okay, I hope that this turns out how I intended," but then you have all of these other pieces that come into play and music that helps drive emotions, and it really did come together beautifully. So that's cool to hear that, you had that experience watching it too, where you kind of like refelt and maybe experienced emotions that I don't know if you were expecting all of them or not, but I think it's really cool to hear that
No,
you also experienced that. So
no,
you were surprised by some of them.
I was surprised. It's unexpected. I mean, of course, I was on the set, and I saw,
Right.
and I was part of this whole process the whole way. But
Yeah.
it's different when you see it all in one piece with everything working as it should, and then things hit you that I just wouldn't have expected, and they are really, I would say, largely about love,
Yeah.
and how she expressed it, and how it got expressed to her,
Yeah.
um, by the people she served. It was a two-way street. It wasn't just her giving love; that she got a lot back,
Yeah, she did.
and she learned a lot. She grew a lot.
Yeah. Well, I am so excited for more people to get to learn more and to grow more, just as we were just saying that, we see her experience that in the film, and I think that people that go to see this film are going to do the same. They're going to feel that. I hope that they leave with the hope and the love that, we've discussed tonight. I think they will. Just as a quick
Well, we've
reminder
had.
for everyone. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we've done so many screenings, and I'm pretty confident,
I think
just
so.
based on data, that people leave with a real sense of elevation and inspiration
Oh,
and
yeah.
hope, and it just seems like it's a nutrient that we lack right now,
Yeah.
and that when we get near it and we need it, we just drink it up because as a culture we need it so badly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And everyone, the theaters will be showing Cabrini starting March 8th, which is International Women's Day. It's really, really cool timing and very exciting. You can get tickets right now at angel.com/Cabrini. There's an early bird discount happening during this live stream. We are so excited for you all to see this film. Rod, thank you so much for talking with us this evening and sharing some insights into the film. And it's been really awesome to be able to chat with you. This is such an honor, truly.
Well, it's been a lot of fun for me. Thank you for allowing me to come on. I'm happy to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, we do have one more thing that we want to get done tonight, and that's having you sign the script for a winner tonight.
Yes.
So we have had a giveaway going this whole stream. If you bought tickets during this live stream, you were entered to win a signed copy of a Cabrini script, signed by Rod. So we're going to go ahead and announce the winner now. It was chosen at random. If you are the winner, we will get in contact with you after this stream. Let's go ahead and announce the winner. Let's throw up their name. Judy Strange, you are the winner. Thank you so much for getting tickets during the stream, for supporting Cabrini, supporting Angel, being a part of this awesome conversation with Rod. Rod is signing a script for you. It looks like he's doing it now. There you go, Judy. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. Thanks for doing that, Rod. That's so cool. We will go ahead and get in contact with you, Judy, about this, and make sure that that copy ends up in your hands after the film comes out. Again, no spoilers before it comes out. Thank you again, Rod, and thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
I was told that you were rejected by 3 different orders, each time for weakness of constitution.
Your Holiness, we can serve our weakness or we can serve our purpose, not both. My sisters, if we are to build an empire of hope, it seems we must first conquer New York.
Filthy Dagos. They just keep coming.
Mio papà si è suicidato e mia mamma è morta di tifo.
In America, the greatest nation on earth, rats have it better than the children of 5 Points.
It's not safe. Not for you. Be careful. This place will eat you alive.
Doctors tell me 5 years.
5 would be a miracle.
In that case, I should get to work. I need an orphanage with more room, where my children can be children.
I'd like you to keep your crime and your filth out of this neighborhood.
The mayor will find a way to get you out.
You have an election coming up, do you not?
I believe I'm being threatened by a nun. You have swatted the hornet's nest. Get out, Dago! Go!
I want the best hospital for your people and for mine. We have to show America we are all people of dignity.
This project is overly ambitious, perhaps unrealistic.
We are bold, or we die. This is how I learned to live in America.
Cabrini, you would have made an excellent man.